My name is Tony Harmer, Senior Solutions Consultant, as you can see there, for the design segment on the digital media team at Adobe UK. And just very, very quickly, Ashley there mentioned the Mentorship Program. I'm lucky enough to be one of the mentors on that program. I look after a young man in Nairobi. We have a really good relationship where we're developing his skills and making him more employable and looking at all different avenues to explore things. It really is a very, very worthwhile program. So I'm going to show you a few things. My timer should start running now, just so I don't run away with things, because I could be here all day showing you all the cool stuff we've got. And of course, Adobe, as you know and as you've heard, we produce all of these amazing desktop tools that are the standard in many, many industries. We're very fortunate to have that. And of course, as Ashley was saying just there, it's not just our desktop tools, it's a collection and a growing collection of really, really awesome mobile tools. So in these tools, we've made things easier to use. So what we're doing is accelerating the design process by making stuff easier to use, learn and pick up, but it's not just novelty. These things have real utility, and they do flow into design workflows. So it's possible for you to start a project on a device and then hand that off to a desktop tool from there. So you can work quite a long way through the process and even backwards and forwards, so you can make assets on your desktop tools and make those available to the mobile devices and so on. And collaboration is a big aspect of what Creative Cloud is. And for you as educators, this is a really important part of the projects and assignments you set, in that using Creative Cloud and only a standards-compliant browser, you can have a student's peers comment on their work, and you can track all of that information and keep all of that information. Of course, makes your life a lot easier. And like I say, all you need for that is a browser. So we have a bunch of tools, and you can see some of these things throughout the day. You're going to see, first of all, from me, you're going to see a little bit on Capture CC, and you'll see a bit more later on. And the example I'll be showing you here, because there are many different things you can do with Capture CC, such as create vector shapes and make brushes for Photoshop, Illustrator, and the other mobile sketching tools, and also color looks and color themes that you can use throughout the entire process, both mobile and desktop. But you'll see the example that I'm going to be using is using some traditional media and then digitizing that faster than I would have ever been able to do that before. You're also going to see a little bit from me on Photoshop Mix, Photoshop Fix. I won't be doing any Lightroom Mobile, but these allow us to create and edit and tune our photography. So we can mix things up, we can use other assets that we make with the desktop tools and also with other mobile tools, and they all mesh together beautifully. And we have some storytelling and creation apps. So these are the sketching apps. Photoshop Sketch and Illustrator Draw, which allow us to create beautiful artworks, which then, again, can come from the mobile application directly into Photoshop or into Illustrator or into any of the other applications. And you'll see some of that from me in just a minute too. And we have some storytelling apps I went to mention just a moment ago. So we have Premiere Clip, which allows you to build video stories, and that then pushes off and ends in the proper desktop product, Premiere. So the workflow completely starts with you mixing up clips and applying looks and various different things to it, and then sending that directly to Premiere. And the upload from that, by the way, is very, very fast. And the two storytelling apps, Slate and Voice, allow us to bring stories together, and you'll see some more of those very, very shortly. And we have Comp CC, which you're going to see a bit of this afternoon with my colleague, Iona. This allows you to create layouts for desktop and mobile projects, and then use your connected Creative Cloud assets to bring those together. And it's probably one of the hottest design applications out there at the moment. It's the one thing that people really get excited about, is they can come along and they can sketch with their finger a layout and then populate that with real assets and then push that in various different directions. So just to summarize what I've been saying there, We've got tools that are almost always to hand. Very typical picture of the sort of people that we work with, I'm sure, right? Holding devices. I'm not sure about holding two at the same time, but holding and using devices. So we're making things accessible to things that students have with them, that they carry all the time. They are, as I hopefully will demonstrate to you in just a moment, easy and fun to use, which of course the more easy they are to use and the more fun they are, then the chances are the more you're going to experiment with them and do great things. And they do have real utility in our desktop applications, as I said a moment ago. There's no wastage there. It's not a novelty where you're just getting an image. These things, like from Sketch and Line, if they go into Illustrator, they can be expanded to actual paths. And if you have a relevant brush, they look exactly the same. So you need now to see some mobile apps in action, and you actually have been doing for just the last few minutes since I've been on. Because this entire presentation was made with one of our storytelling apps, Adobe Slate. And all of these transitions here are built in. It's a really, really simple and very engaging application to use. And you can work on it on a tablet or in a web browser. So as of about 2 weeks ago, we made this available. And as soon as you leave off in one, you can pick up at exactly the same place in the other. So very, very easy. No excuses for not doing it. And if you imagine having a device when you maybe take someone out or take a group out to a particular venue to look at something, you can actually get them to write and produce a really engaging assignment while you're there. So there you are, and I actually containerize that so it sits in its own app. So I'm going to launch here Adobe Capture, and what I want to do with this one is capture a shape. So it's engaged to my camera, and Monday is Dinosaur Day, so I was drawing dinosaurs this morning, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this thresholding slider just here to capture some of my drawing. I can tap on this as well to get a preview of what I'll be creating. So I'll do that from there, and I'm just going to capture that. And then moves across into this refinement screen, and you can see that just with my finger, I can just brush across these items just here that I don't want to be included in my shape. And if I make a mistake like I did, whoops, just there, I can just come back to keep in shape and brush things back into it like so. I'll then tap Next. And what Capture will do here is actually turn this into a vector shape. Okay, so it's not got any predefined resolution at all. It's 100% vector, and so it can be scaled infinitely from there, and that can be used in Illustrator or in Photoshop and any of the other applications. Just tap Next just there, and there's a little refinement. I just missed a little block there, but I'm not too worried about it. And I'll just give this one a name. So I'm just going to call this one Monday Dino, like so. That's done. It's going to save into this library, and the library and the assets contained in it will be available to anybody who's connected to the library. You can share the library with other people. So again, another collaborative aspect. And I'll save that shape like so, and I get a little screen there. So there it is in my library. I can come in and refine that and do other things to it at any time. So I'm going to come out of that, and I'll show you briefly just one of the sketching apps. So this eagle is something I created when the product was in the beta stages. So I drew this probably around about 18, 20 months ago just now. And why I'm mentioning that is really important, because I'm going to plant down 3 fingers on the screen here, and you'll see this history bar. Now, it's going to take a little while to catch up with me because there's a lot of information in here, but it should start to do that normally at around about now, but it looks like it's going to wait and catch up with me when I get right back to the beginning. So there you are. That's how this looked before I actually started on it. Now if I plant down 3 fingers and move forward, you can actually see me draw this pretty much. Because the entire history of this drawing is kept. And the way it does that is because the information is numeric. It's actually SVG underneath there that allows that to happen. But that's a sort of a technical aspect which may or may not bother you. What is really important about that is that I can do branching behaviors. So if I get to a certain point in a sketch, say like this just here, and I think I want to start applying color, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out with here. If I was doing this in a traditional sketchbook, I'd have to suddenly stop being creative and become a mechanic. I'd be tracing that across onto a new leaf and then starting to work with it. And of course, I may well lose the moment. But with this application, I can close this out, go into edit mode, tap on that, and then duplicate it, and then I'm free to carry on working on that. And I can do that as many times as necessary. And if I go too far, I can just step backwards to where I was happy and then branch off from there. So a couple of different ways we can do it. It's a very, very cool application with a lot of very, very cool brushes, including this watercolor brush that I'm using. It's a green eagle because, well, why not? Just there. So you can see that's all blending out, behaving just like a watercolor. If I introduce another color to it, like so, obviously I'm not trying to create anything photorealistic just here, but you'll see how they start to blend together. And of course, if I was working with traditional medium, what I might need to do is just leave that alone, go and have some lunch, let it dry, and then apply paint to it. Whereas here, I can just hit this fan at the bottom, and that's it, and the layer dries, and then I can come along and paint on that like so, and it won't fuse together. So incredible application. I urge you to have a look at that in more detail. Then we have Photoshop Mix. This is one of the other ones I'm going to show you just here, and I'll actually rebuild this one again just here. So if I go back and add a new project. So this allows me to mix together, hence the name, different image assets and things that I create in my applications. So on my iPad here, I'm going to go to my camera roll, and I'm going to get this brick wall background image that I photographed just over there earlier on this morning. And I think I'd like to apply a color look to that like so, and I could paint that in if I wanted to. And then I'll maybe tune that a little bit. So what I might want to do is adjust the exposure. You can see it's just this gradated slider across the bottom, really simple to use. I'll just brighten it up just a little bit, and I could do all of the other adjustments that you can see running along the bottom there. And now I'm going to mix in my second image. So here I've got a Batman. There's always a good reason to use a Batman inside something. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blend that using the same blend modes I'd use in Photoshop. So if I use the multiply blend mode here, for example, the white disappears because it's invisible in that mode. And I can twist that around and resize it, and I can come back to that. You can see it's all there. I can change the opacity if I wanted to, just by pulling this backwards and forwards, and start to create in that way. And everything I'm doing here is non-destructive. If I then, once I'd completed this, decided to push this up to any of these products at the top, they would come in non-destructively. So if I push this to Photoshop, it would have a background, it would also have a layer that had a layer mask and the blend mode applied to it. And that is a real ramp up into getting those things into an application like Photoshop. Very, very accelerated. It's there. Finally, I'm going to end with a bit of Photoshop Fix, which is fairly new. We only announced Photoshop Fix not too long ago, really, just a few months ago. And so for this one, I'm going to use the Mona Lisa just here. A lot of different operations I can do here. Actually, I will do, because I'm just looking, I've got a minute just to do this. So just bear with me a second, and I'll build to the Mona Lisa. So what I'm going to do here is do a bit of healing. Let me just brush that out and show you how easy that is to do. So gone in a few seconds. Without learning a complex tool set, I'm using my finger just there. I think that was worth it, and I'm now back bang on schedule. So I'll just come out of that and go back to my projects and back to the Mona Lisa, like so. So the Mona Lisa, of course, with her lovely enigmatic smile, but I'd like her to be a bit happier today because you're all here and looking at her right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Photoshop Fix to recognize her face. And so if I tap, you'll see it creates these nodes. It goes, okay, 2 eyes, yep, nose, cheeks, mouth, and chin. So I'm going to tap on the mouth. Now I've got this smile control. And, oops, if I just do that properly, there you go. If I push that up, no, down, I'm not so happy. And up, I'm much happier, like so. So there you go. And it's amazing that I'm doing this on a device. And I don't need a big tablet like this because this application also exists on a phone. So it's incredible. It's a flavor of what we've got coming. You'll see more awesome stuff throughout the day. But for me, now, that's it. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks very much.